Monday, October 13th, 2025, and a lot's going on in the world, including hostages being released and all along those lines. So we'll be talking about that here on World Edition and hearing what people's reactions to these news stories are and all along those lines. So, according to CNN, all living Israeli hostages have been freed from Gaza as Trump addresses the Knesset. So, definitely that is something that is going on. But the father of hostage Tamir Nemrati, who was not released today among the living captives, says his son's fate has then been proven. So definitely Palestinian detainees and Israeli captives have been freed, and the direct meeting between Trump envoys and Hamas leaders sealed the Gaza deal, is what a lot of folks are saying. Joel Moker, Philippe Agayan, and Peter Howitt share the Nobel in economics. So, Brown professor and former Harvard professor was among the trio awarded the Nobel Prize in economics. So they won on prize for work on innovation, growth, and some creative thinking along the as well. So we'll definitely find out more about that also. Traveling to the European Union is about to get more complicated. So, what travelers need to know for the EU's new biometric border checks. So, definitely that is something that is going to be enforced there in the EU. So, with start of operations of new EES border control systems, the EU will strengthen border security and increase efficiency for travelers. A German woman who stole an ancient relic over 50 years ago returns it to Greece. So she returned the 4th century BC Greek column head to ancient Olympia. So it's been repatriated from Germany, and Germany returns the stolen Olympia artifact after decades. And Locarno names a new French government after reappointment. So French political crisis continues as Macron blames rivals for sense of disorder. French's Macron won't resign as no confidence vote threatens his new government. So definitely it looks like the French presidency has unveiled a new cabinet as budget pressures intensifies. And a former Lost Prophet singer Ian Watkins was killed in UK prison attack. So two men charged after Ian Watkins, a former Lost Prophet singer, is killed in prison. He was a former Lost Prophet singer and convicted child sex offender who was killed in the UK prison attack, is what the media reports are saying. And number 10 says that, let's see what number 10 is all about as well. So I'll get to that story. Oh, No 10 says claim it concealed evidence or withdrew witnesses to stop China spy trials are categorically untrue. So UK ministers criticized Starmer's China policy amid spying row. So growing questions over collapsed spy trial as ex-M16 chief confused by abandoned prosecution. Badenoch demands PM address unanswered China spy case question. So definitely that's something going on as well. And as I said, Israel hostages release live updates. So it looks like that's going on. And definitely Trump urges pardon for Netanyahu during Gaza address to Knesset. So lawmakers ejected from Knesset after disrupting the Trump speech. And so Trump said international pressure meant Israel had to end the war. So definitely that's looking like some stuff going on there as well. Trump and El Sisi are to chair a Gaza peace summit on Monday. So as Donald Trump heads to Gaza peace summit in Egypt, folks are asking who is going and who isn't. So Trump and Egypt president said to host the Sharm el Sheikh peace summit. So it looks like Trump has brokered Netanyahu's participation at the Gaza peace conference in Egypt. And Madagascar's president says attempted coup is underway. So Madagascar presidency says attempt to seize power underway, and the Madagascan president to adjust the nation as protesters call for new rallies. So it looks like the Madagascar president will be making a speech after soldiers turned against the government in that apparent coup. Planet's first catastrophic climate tipping point reach, report says, as far as the coral reefs are going. So the planet has entered a new reality as it hits its first climate tipping point, a landmark report finds. Climate tipping points are being crossed, scientists warn ahead of COP30. So coral reefs become first environmental system on Earth to pass the tipping point, according to the report. And Gaza City clashes between Hamas and Klan members leave 27 dead. So dozens killed in Gaza as violence erupts between Hamas and armed clans on yesterday. So this was before all the more positive news of today. And will Paul Biya of Cameroon, the world's oldest president, win again? So the world's oldest president could extend his rule as Cameroon votes in an election. Cameroon election updates: when and how Elicom is going to go announce the winner. So Africa Leaders for Life offered a warning to the world. And Afghanistan kills dozens of Pakistani soldiers in an overnight border operation, officials say. Pakistan and Afghanistan border closures extend into the second day after deadly clashes. Afghan Taliban says Pakistani troops killed in a retaliatory border attack. So there is definitely still conflict going on there as well. And definitely looks like Vice President J.D. Vance was on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan. And of course, people are wondering about some of his conversational points as well. And Steve Scalise says the Democrats won $200 billion in taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants. That's what they're claiming, and all along those lines. Israelis definitely were gathering to greet their family members and all along those lines. So that is definitely some good news. And like I said, there's at least one hostage family that hasn't gotten proof that their family member isn't still alive, even though the folks there in Hamas are saying that they released. Let's see what they've got on their mind as well. Dozens were rescued in a remote Alaskan villages in storm that swept away homes. Nor'easter forecast, high winds, flooding batter Jersey Shore as coastal storms sweep through that region. So dozens rescued as remnants of typhoon hits Alaska, and it definitely looks like there's definitely been some interesting weather even here in North Carolina where I'm at, and all along those lines. So we'll definitely be hearing more about what Trump said in his speech to the Knesset. And Helena Moreno is elected the mayor of New Orleans. So Democratic Helena Moreno wins the New Orleans mayoral race. And there's new leadership in New Orleans with Moreno and Woodfork winning in those municipal elections. Oliver Thomas gave a fiery concession speech. The devil don't want 99%. The devil wants 100% is what he said in his fiery speech, and all along those lines. So I guess he wasn't too happy with the results as they came. The U.S. and China are about to launch the next front in their trade war. So China retaliates against U.S. port fears with new charges on American ships. So shipping faces sizable disruption as U.S. and China spar on the fees. So that's definitely something else that people are talking about also. And there was a mass shooting at a South Carolina bar that left 4 people dead and more than 20 injured, at least 4 killed and 16 injured in a bar shooting in St. Helena Island, South Carolina. So the shooting at the South Carolina and the crowded South Carolina bar left at least 4 dead and 20 others injured. And one of the elected leaders said, "We cannot tolerate this," as elected leaders speak out following the deadly Beaufort County mass shooting. And in New York City, Long Island, and Westchester County are under state of emergency as the nor'easter stuck around on Monday, which is today, and everything like that. And the Dow jumps 400 points as Trump post eases concerns around U.S.-China trade. So Asia market falls after Trump threatens new tariffs on China and chumps the new tariffs, and J.P. Morgan's Chase's $10 billion plan, government shutdown, layoffs, and more was being reported in different news outlets as well. And a Tennessee sheriff becomes the face of grief after a plant explosion. So Tennessee community mourned 16 killed in a munitions plant explosion. In an instant, they were gone. Small town mourns after Tennessee explosives factory blast. Official says no survivor found at Tennessee manufacturing plant explosion site as ADF deploys their elite teams. An historical wave of retirements is putting huge strains on government. So amid shutdowns, Trump's administration's gut departments overseeing special education. So Trump lays off thousands, blames the shutdown Ed Martin Spitter won't go to prison, and Jimmy Kimmel sponsors a Georgetown player. So definitely lots going on in that space as well. And the stakes are quite high. U.S. Supreme Court case could gut Voting Rights Act. So definitely there's some Louisiana voters behind a major Supreme Court challenge, and GOP could lock in House control for a generation if SCOTUS ends key Voting Rights Act protections. So Supreme Court is taking up Republican attack on the Voting Rights Act. On the Voting Rights Act there in Louisiana. And a growing number of U.S. veterans face arrest over ICE raid protests. So a small Chicago suburb has become a flashpoint in ICE's crackdown and all along those lines. So definitely that's some of the news. And also, as I think Rick said just last week, Trump did speak with the Nobel Peace Prize winner Machado after his administration denounced the decision to award it to her. And Nobel Peace Prize winner Machado says Venezuela is in chaos under the current regime. Trump sure seems hung up on losing the Nobel Peace Prize, is what the Huffington Post is saying, and all along those lines. And Obama said inherently corrupting for a president to use the military against their own people. Circuit Court walked back judges' block on Trump's National Guard call-up in Chicago. So definitely this whole notion of the National Guard and how they're being used is coming up as well. And speaking of Obama, it's my understanding that Vice President Kamala Harris, under the last vice presidential, the last president, the Biden presidency, will be in Durham at the DPAC on the Wednesday. I think she's here for her book signing tour and all along those lines. I've got Nick with me. Nobody else is here, but we'll see if Rick or anybody else shows up and everything like that. So how's things going in Spain? You've been AWOL lately.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. You don't sound
okay. I just got into Spain late yesterday from New York, just in time. It looks like in New York you're going to get hit with a big storm. And Salt Lake, I went from Salt Lake to New York, and Salt Lake's getting hit with a big storm. And of course, in Barcelona, the weather is great. It's like in its 70s and very mild. No clouds. It's just really nice weather here. But of course, I want to listen to your news to see what's going on, and also get to wait for Jacoby to come in because I want to rattle his chain.
I'm sure you'll try to rattle his chain. He might be busy. I think they had a soccer match last night.
Oh my Lord! So Jacoby's not going to be here, so I can't rattle his chain.
He won't be here. Later. You can rattle Rick's chain. What was it like in New York? I understand they're going to have Mom Donnie as their mayor.
Oh, the communist mayor. The thing is, most of the city's communist, so it wouldn't surprise me because see what happens. New York is the land of extremely rich and frankly extremely poor, and a middle class that's just getting ripped apart. Okay, so the fact is, when it comes to voting, there are more poor people than there are rich people. But the fact is, the rich people have all the money, and the poor people have zero or very little. And so what happens? You have basically a medieval city, otherwise known as New York City, because that used to be the way it was in medieval times. The rich people would have all the money, poor people would live in poverty and squalor, and then Maria would say,
but what's nice about New York City is that everybody has to walk places. So at least occasionally a poor person can yell at a rich person.
That is true. You do get to. You don't need a car if you're in Manhattan, or frankly, I don't think you need it in Queens, because the public transportation there is pretty good.
Yeah.
But right now the real estate prices are really high, so I don't know why they don't sell their homes and get out, except they may have mortgages that are up to the sky, and that's the only
mortgages that they can't get out of and everything like that.
The best thing about New York is leaving New York, but I love Manhattan. And it's, like I say, a great place to visit. I'd live there if my income was like 10 times greater than this right now, because that's what you need to protect yourself and go to the right places in New York.
Like in LA, the sun always shines in LA, and you're insulated from getting yelled at by the poor because everybody's in a vehicle. In New York City, nobody gets too uppity because the weather sucks half of the year, which it's hard to feel special when you're getting rained on and when you're getting yelled at on the street for being a rich person.
Right.
Which,
Yeah.
you
And
don't really get yelled at, but
Regularly is
you
in New
do rub
York.
shoulders with everybody.
Hey, you know what's great about Florida? When I was an attorney there practicing, that now I'm an attorney, but I just don't have a practice in Florida. I had a lot of clients from New York escaping New York to go to Florida because Florida had no personal income tax, and New York was about 10%. So what's going to happen when the new communist guy gets in? These people will probably look seriously to move somewhere else, or they're going to pay more taxes, one or the other. But I don't think they're going to stay. You've seen a net migration out of Fortune 500 companies and wealthy individuals because they just go, okay, Mr. Communist is going to take over, we're going to leave. But the real thing is, what is the middle class going to do? I just don't know, and it remains to be seen.
Yeah, the mayor is partly a figurehead. New York has a momentum of its own.
That's true. Yeah, but the thing is, they do have a lot of power, and so what happens is that you might see more people look seriously to vacate New York, or some of what they do is they actually have assets offshore already. In other words, when some of those revolutions take place in Latin America, they said 9 billion has left the country. Well, not really. What happens, it was automatically transferred out through wire transfers. In other words, you wire transfer your money out of one country to the next. And as long as you don't violate the Anti-Money Laundering Act and you fill out your proper forms, you can do so. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen in New York. Well, Jatovi's not here. I want to rub in two items.
If you're going to try to rattle my chain about Trump, I freely admit that getting the ceasefire in the Mideast is a big good deal,
and the return of the hostages. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah,
I thought they're going to be a breakdown on the hostage return. But if he does, then maybe he's up for a Nobel Peace Prize. So I really desperately needed.
They've already given it to the person from Venezuela.
They already handed it out. So
Jacoby, I'll wait for you all week. And the other one I wanted to rattle his chain about is Letitia James. Remember the prosecuting attorney in New York got indicted for mortgage fraud. Now, remember, being indicted doesn't mean you're guilty. It means you just got indicted by a grand jury. And it's a ticky-tack charge. The charge was mortgage fraud because she rented her property out as opposed to used it for personal use. Then some commentators said, well, she rented it out to her family members. And so it could be considered personal use. So we'll have to see where this thing goes. It definitely was ticky-tack.
In your life, you've bought a ton of real estate.
Oh, yeah.
You know that when it finally finishes escrow and you changes hand, you fill out a stack of documents.
Exactly. And you don't know what you find.
So what I've read, and again, like you said, subject to being corrected in court,
Sure.
that she filled out one document and maybe it was ambiguous to her. She didn't quite know. So she wrote a note saying that it's actually in the stack of docs. And of course, you wouldn't show this to a grand jury. You don't have to, I don't think.
Right.
That she wrote a note saying, this is not my primary residence.
Sure. Right.
So if that's in there, if that's in the documents, this case isn't going anyplace.
It's a maybe, because the thing is, if somewhere else in the document it said that you had to disclose that it's not for personal use, that maybe it is. Anyway, somehow she got indicted. But see, this is why I call it ticky-tack. It probably should not be criminal. It should be civil. We way overdo criminal areas that shouldn't be. But now here's the counterpoint. When Trump signed his documents, he put in, these valuations are mine. They basically may not be correct. Please do your own valuation. And they indicted him anyway. This is what I'm talking about, ticky-tack charges. And so all of a sudden you have this big thing with him overvaluing his properties, which, working in real estate, which I did off and on for 41 years, and working with wealthy clients, same way, they've overvalued two things. One, the value of their business. Here's the real value. Here's their value. Two, real estate. Here's the real value. Here's their value. So when you're doing valuations, like it's up to a willing buyer, willing seller. It's like paintings. So she, in her infinite wisdom, decided to indict him for that. Okay, so it's basically payback time, baby.
If
You got indicted.
you look at like Trump, so she's being indicted. The prosecutors, I believe, are claiming that she saved $19,000 over a period of, I don't know, 5 to 10 years in interest costs because she got a break on her interest rate.
Not interest on mortgage. Right.
Trump went crazy with his valuations. That when when his dad passes away, and I've read this, and I read a lot of bullshit too. Like, I mean, Twitter is full of, but that the difference between what they the value of the properties they declared to the IRS that they had to pay estate taxes on was 1/10 what they claimed when they used the properties for collateral.
I agree. I worked in that area off and on for 41 years, and it always bothered me, Rick, that we'd have two basic valuations of real estate. One, the valuation that you report on the estate tax return, which is going to be so different. Right now he goes, oh, the Mar-a-Lago is worth $1 billion. And maybe it is. Who knows? But Letitia
I
goes,
have a more pressing question for both you and Rick and everything.
But it's different when you do on the estate tax return. It's worth $100,000.
Both of you, since you want to rag on people, and this is a lawyer question. Trump is very seriously considering using, and he's made it very serious. He's brought in Pam Bondi and others, the Insurrection Act. So as a lawyer, what is your take on this? Because he's seriously considering going and using the Insurrection Act as a way to keep citizens in line.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's another thing he can do. I mean, remember, he's the executive branch. So until the judicial branch says otherwise, or Congress passes a law otherwise, he does what he wants. Well, Congress is a do-nothing Congress. As a matter of fact, I can't hear you. What are they doing on the, what do they call it, the shutdown? I can't hear you.
They're not even
doing nothing. So you have a very interesting political situation in the United States. You got a president who does everything, Congress who does nothing, and you have to wait for the judicial branch because it takes a while for them to look at it. So yeah, he can go ahead and invoke it, at least say, hey, I'm invoking it, and I'm going ahead and do it. And until a judge reins them in, that's what he does. I mean, welcome to America. What is it, 2025? I live in Spain, so I go out and I'm sitting on the Mediterranean. It's a 5-minute, 10-minute walk from here. And I can be at the Mediterranean. I don't have to listen to your stuff, even though CNN does, the Communist Network News beams in here. I don't listen to Fox because it doesn't come here. I don't listen to ABC, CBS, NBC. They're not here. The only ones that come here are BBC and CNN. That's it. So, I get that slanted viewpoint of the news, where when I was in the States last week for a week, I got to be hit with ABC, CBS, NBC, all the colorful networks that you have in the United States, which have real slanted viewpoints on everything there. But yeah, and the government shut down. That's the reason why Jacoby. That's number 3 for Jacoby. The Democrats are going to hang on this. I mean, but I think it's going to last long.
If you look at opinion, it depends on how long it goes on. Right now, the Democrats have, I don't know, maybe a 15, 17 point advantage in opinion.
They're going to lose it. And part of it is this. Here's what they're going to present. Okay, vote to open the government. Republicans, 90%, 95% yes. Democrats, 99.5% no. Case closed. So why they want to die on that hill?
Well, because if you look at the actual polling, the Republicans control all the branches of government. But
they don't control this particular vote. See, that's the problem. They do not control this particular vote. If they did, the government would be open.
But when the government shuts down,
so let's see who's obstructing it. The Democrats. So they're going to die on the hill. I don't know why they like to die on hills that are going to be with their blood spilled all over it. It really bothers me because the Democratic strategists are just plain stupid. You want to die on a hill that you can. You don't want to die on a hill, okay? You want to live. You want to go to a hill and live there. So how can the whole Democratic Party be so bloody stupid? This is a hill you don't want to die on. And I think it's the leadership between Schumer and Jeffries. They're just dumb. Don't die on this hill, guys. Go find another hill to fight on. I mean, Lord. And I know their hill. Their hill is something very interesting, which is healthcare premiums are going to go up for everybody. Well, let them go up. Okay? Please let them go up, because then you have something you can pin them on. But don't die on this hill. Go die on the other hill, or don't even die. Take the position that you want to bring that down, and then pin that on the Republicans. But they're not going to do it. They don't listen to me. They don't listen to anybody because they know everything. They thought Biden was great. I was going, dude, he's going to lose this. Said that 2 years ago. And on our channel 2 weeks ago, before I left to go back to the States and back here, I told David Walker, this is going to go on longer than you think. Okay, this is not going to be a CR, and it wasn't. And so now it's going to continue. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. My prediction is going to go toward the end of the year, if not into next year.
The betting markets say it'll be over by November 1st.
November 1st. There must be a reason for November 1st. What's the deal? There's something going on.
No, it's because when you make bets, you need like an easy number for people to, and so like you can bet on Trump's approval rating, and it's always on October 1st, November 1st.
Really? Yeah. The Las Vegas odds makers are actually pretty good, when it comes to stuff like this.
So they're giving it like maybe a 2/3 chance it should end by the end of the month.
Really?
Speaking of Las Vegas, they may be good at odds and everything, but apparently, and Rick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard people, and I have friends in the West Coast, California and Nevada and other places, and they tell me that Las Vegas is suffering seriously economically, partially because of the immigration and partially because of other things. So,
I would think this is a great time to, if you can afford it, take a vacation. Because
go to
America, because Vegas is hurting. Business is down 15%.
That's what's up.
The strip looks deserted. They're panicking. So I'm sure you could get a great frickin' deal. Los Angeles tourism is way down. Hollywood Boulevard is usually full of Yahoo tourists.
Yeah. I would seriously consider going to Las Vegas, except I got several problems. Problem number one, let's say they have this beautiful hotel called the Venetian, but there's this place called Venice, which where I live is about a $200 round trip. And I'm looking to go to the Venice rather than the fake Venetian. Okay. The other problem I have is I'm only like an hour away for Paris. They have this fake Paris, but I can go to the real Paris. It's like an hour away. So why would I want to go to Las Vegas to go all to the fake Paris, the fake Venetian, the Bellagio? It's fake Italian. When Italy for me is about an hour and a half trip, and I can go see the real Italy, the real Florence, rather than the fake Bellagio. So here's my problem with Las Vegas. It's all fake meatball. I just got back from the real New York. Why would I want to go to the fake New York in Las Vegas?
Well, speaking of fake, I got another one. I got another one for you, Nick, and everything, because apparently President Trump has a new interest in nemesis in his life and everything like that, because of things that he feels the way we handle immigration and everything like that. And I did go to a Jesuit university and everything. The Pope is not a fan of Trump or the world leaders in general. He thinks that all the world leaders are spending too much time ignoring the poor and the impoverished. So what is your take on this? And does Trump need to be worried about the Pope yelling at him?
Oh, no, I don't think he's got to worry about the Pope yelling at him. Okay.
MAGAs don't care about the Pope.
Vegas, I can guarantee you can't care about the Pope. But see, here's number one rule, spending 41 years with wealthy people, Mark. They don't like poor people, okay? So let's just write down rule number one of the rich. Rich people do not like poor people. Then number two rule, rich people must pretend that they like poor people, or otherwise bad things could happen to them. So those are the two rules. And of wealthy people. They don't like poor people, but they have to pretend that they like poor people, or bad things will happen to them.
I've got another one for both you and Rick. I understand what you're saying. But I got another one for you and Rick, and this comes down to something else that y'all were kind of alluding to earlier in terms of politics and everything. This is the midterms. This is off-year elections because here in Durham we have mayoral elections every 2 years. How you can do anything in 2 years is beyond me and everything like that, because by the time you get into office, you're campaigning again. But because it's off year, a lot of voting is down because some people are like, I don't need to be voting for these other offices because they don't really mean anything. I imagine the same is going on in New York City. I know it's going on here in Durham, North Carolina and everything. So what is our message to folks that are like, I don't need to vote till we get to the president? And even then, I'm not sure if I'm going to vote because even that's only like maybe 50%.
There's one message for every off-year election, which is if you don't vote, you're leaving it up to the lunatics, because the lunatics vote in every election. You don't want the assholes to determine who.
Well, hey, Rick, is the New York City mayor election this year? I mean, is it?
Yeah, it's I assume it's the first week in November.
First week in November.
So that thing's going to come down this year. That's going to be very exciting.
Yeah,
because New York is a huge city. It's bigger than the country of Hungary. It's bigger than the country of the Czech Republic. It's bigger than Slovenia. It's bigger than a lot of European countries. The city is like 10 million.
California has a big issue, which is my wife and I just voted by mail for whether California is going to redistrict to get rid of almost all of our Republican seats in the House to counter Texas getting rid of almost all of its Democratic seats.
Well, that'll be very cute. Well, I think California is pretty liberal, so I assume that they're going to vote for it.
I assume, and plus they're spending 2.5 times as much, and their ads are better. The yes on Prop 50 is the ads are just more effective, I think, than the no on Prop 50 ads. And and California is more than 60% Democratic.
Is the redistricting that's taking place in California, is that Prop 50 that's coming now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Prop 50.
Okay. Yeah, if I don't know what Las Vegas says, but if I would odds-on favorite that they're going to vote for it and do the redistricting, probably to do what you're saying, countering Texas.
Yeah, because Texas is going to do the same thing. But I don't know if y'all would, both of you were in by the time I was getting to it and everything, but it looks like Louisiana is going to be trying to make some serious changes to the Voting Rights Act. So this is going to impact a lot of folks and everything like that. So what is your take on that if this takes place? Because they're trying to weaken the Voting Rights Act that was passed way back in the 60s.
Louisiana has, one of the most right-leaning rinky-dink governments in the country.
Yeah, well, what specifically are they going to do? Because I'm not following what's happening in the great state of Louisiana. The only thing I follow is LSU and Tulane football, and LSU's doing okay. They're doing pretty good actually, and Tulane is starting to move up, and they've had a pretty good year. But other than that, Louisiana. I mean, they have really good food at the front.
I don't remember off the top of my head, and I'm not on that page right now.
I'm going there.
So while you're going there and everything, just really quickly, Nick, while he's looking that up real quickly, I was going to say that speaking of sports, I'm glad to say that my Brewers are in a pennant fight with the Dodgers, so they're going up against Rick's team and everything like that. But this is the first time in a long time that they've been in a pennant fight, and if they win, it'll be the first time since I was in college, and that was '82. So they've got to win it first against the Dodgers.
I looked it up. The issue in Louisiana is the same issue in Texas and California. They want to redistrict to squeeze out one more, replace one Democrat with a Republican.
Oh, so it's gerrymandering.
It's gerrymandering.
Okay, I see. So that's what they're doing in Louisiana. Wouldn't surprise me. But my thoughts on Louisiana was just, that's a very strange state. First of all, the state laws are Napoleonic code. Everywhere else in the United States, it's basically common law that comes from England, except in Louisiana, it comes from France. So that's weirdness number one. Jacoby's here. Wait a minute. My favorite commentator has arrived. We can't wait for him to come. Oh boy. There he is, Good thing of Louisiana, C.J. Daniels. You guys don't even know who he is, but C.J. Daniels came from LSU, and he's now playing for the U. He's one of our best wide receivers. He caught that big touchdown for Miami to beat Notre Dame. So good things out of Louisiana is the transfer portal. The University of Miami gets some of the
Well, speaking of good things in sports, because I know you're getting ready to tease Jacoby and everything, but there's a major player that played for UNC, and I know Jacoby got some ties to UNC, but he's
Bill
not
Belichick,
getting much love and
UNC?
everything. But Drake May is doing well, even if Bill Belichick doesn't want to give him love and everything like that. But he definitely had another great game yesterday and everything like that. So, Jacoby, what are you thinking about Drake May? Because he's been doing really well and everything like that.
He doesn't follow that. He doesn't really care. The problem is UNC sucks when it comes to football, and Bill Belichick can't even save them. But now that Jacoby's here, we can discuss some more important issues that I'm sure he's going to enjoy. And number one issue, we want to add this to our banner, is the Nobel Peace Prize to Donald Trump after his miraculous solving of the war between Israel and Gaza, and not only that, the return of hostages. I'm sure Jacoby's all up to giving him the Nobel Peace Prize. As a matter of fact, Jacoby, you can present the Nobel Peace Prize. He's
going to have to wait at least a year because they gave it out like 2 days ago.
Okay, at least a year. Well, Jacoby will be ready for a year, and he can pick the trophy up. I got some trophies right here. This is Nobel Peace Prize. Just a minute, and you can give this to Donald. Here we go. Let me get you the trophy.
So as Nick continues to ramble, no, Donald Trump does not deserve the
Nobel Peace Prize to Donald Trump. There you go, Jacoby. You can present it.
He doesn't deserve a Nobel Peace Prize.
What?
He doesn't deserve a Nobel Peace Prize.
What? I don't think I heard you properly. What did you say?
Oh, yeah, you did. You heard me quite properly.
Okay, why not? We got to listen to this. Let's listen to the commentary.
For example, was there a ceasefire prior to this ceasefire? Was there?
Yes.
Okay. So how long into this ceasefire are we?
Day one.
How long in the ceasefires prior did we go before things broke down?
Like a few days, if that.
So we went a couple of days, a couple of times. We went maybe a week or two, a couple of times. Even when Donald Trump came in, what were we under? A ceasefire. So to claim that Donald Trump brokered this world peace deal isn't true. We're just under a current ceasefire at this moment, and we're ecstatic about the ceasefire at this moment because people can have some peace. But the thing is, we don't know if the war is done. We don't know what's going on because there's only a ceasefire in the first part of a 20 some odd point plan. We're only on point number 6. So to claim that world peace is broken out in a very, very a very tense environment, there's still a lot of negotiation and a lot of things going on. So no, he does not deserve a Nobel Peace Prize for exactly what's happening at this moment. Again, that's not taking anything away from the fact that a ceasefire is there. We are ecstatic about that. But the problem is, again, there is a complex, if you look at in totality of this year alone, for example, of what Donald Trump's comments have been around that area. And if you look at the reason this ceasefire came to be, Israel's standing in the world was becoming more isolated and going in the tank. At the ceasefire earlier this year, Israel's standing was still higher. So the problems that were there that Donald Trump said that could go on and that would go on were there. So Donald Trump actually exacerbated the situation by not even taking control of the situation in the first ceasefire of this year, which his team and Joe Biden's team helped broker. But he tanked it by putting out videos talking about ethnic cleansing and genocide that he wanted to do because he wanted to put in a Trump Tower in the middle of Gaza. So does he deserve a Nobel Peace Prize for pushing the ethnic cleansing of Gaza and the West Bank? Are we
okay? But people have gotten the Nobel Prize without deserving it. Henry Kissinger got the Nobel Peace Prize in 1973. He was the architect of the ongoing slaughter in Vietnam. Obama got it, and we've talked about this, in 2009 when he'd only been president for 9 months. It was so
here's a question.
Hold on. So it could be, now he can't get it this year because they already gave it out, but it could be that the committee could decide that to give it to Trump in the hopes that it would push him in the direction of being less of a dick.
Rick, but again, the actual people who made did the judging talked about.
They did.
You have one instance, but then you have this whole bag of things that are going on in the country that he's being very destructive over. So therefore, and then on top of that, to push back.
Wait. Let's in a nutshell, the committee said no, he's too immoral to get the Peace Prize, but that's this year. And freaking Kissinger wasn't moral.
But hold on, Rick. We're talking about one instance on today. What is today? October 13th. We are actually a day in, so it started on the 12th. What about the rest of the year? What about the end of the year? So there's still a lot of time before you're saying that, oh, well, this could push towards all this. No, these individuals, like the individual who just won it, pushed a whole year about, or pushing back against that dictatorship and against the government. President Obama.
We shouldn't be talking about the Peace Prize because it's a year away. And
it's a year. It's actually January is when they submit it. So even if you take into account, if you take this one instance, but you're ignoring everything else that went on the whole year, then you're not actually doing anything. Again, we agree. We all agree. President Obama didn't deserve the Nobel Peace Prize. What he was a great orator, and him for that period of time, longer than this peace deal has been even established or even thought about by Donald Trump. He actually spoke about uplifting and fighting against all the things that people were talking about before. So yes, he was more deserving. He was not deserving at all for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Jacoby, there's another major thing that's going to come up at the first of the year and everything like that. Do you think that he will get the Time Magazine Man of the Year? Because that's coming up in January and everything like that. And does he deserve getting that? It's less than the Peace Prize, but it is coming up sooner because it's going to be January that'll be coming out, and to make it that football, because they give it to people that have got a mixed bag of things that are going on in their life.
I don't think Time Magazine is relevant anymore. Yeah. And Time Magazine made Hitler Man of the Year in the 30s. Yeah. So that doesn't mean you're a good guy.
Let's talk about another exciting
Time Magazine's thing is about an impact on the world or in the social atmosphere. Right. Probably next year, who will end up getting it, and I hate to say it because he's another person who's a detestable. I'm not going to say that. Not going to say that because I'm going to get myself in trouble. But you know who's going to get it? It'll probably be Charlie Kirk. Yes, because that has been on the social ethos or in the social atmosphere for a very long time, and that is the Super Bowl. The right wing is doing a whole separate halftime show. I mean, that has been the calling card. So yeah, Charlie Kirk will probably get Man of the Year next year.
Okay, another exciting topic that happened when I was in the United States last week is your friend Letitia James got indicted. Is she guilty? Is this the problem, Jacoby, or is this a political indictment?
It is a political persecution. Donald Trump called, Donald Trump tweeted, Donald Trump told Pam Bondi to go after these people. Donald Trump fired a lawyer in AG because they weren't going to get him. Put in his personal lawyer, and then 2 days later, there's
never prosecuted a case. So that lawyer who's now in charge has never prosecuted a single case. A bunch of lawyers turned it down because they didn't think lawyers want to win cases. Prosecutors want to win, and nobody thought that this was a winnable case. So Trump kept like churning through lawyers until he found one he could get to take the case.
And but they went to a grand jury, and the grand jury indicted her. I mean,
but you know, get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich.
But Nick, you know how a grand jury works. There is no cross-examination. There is nothing. It's basically, hey, Mark has a cell phone. I think we should come after Mark because he has a cell phone. Okay, we'll indict him on that. So the whole, and then on top of that, I've read that she is having trouble filling out her workforce because other lawyers, just as Rick said, don't want to be a part of it. So
it will create some more excitement.
Here's the irony part of it, because the whole case was propped up on that. She purchased what they're indicting her for. I think it was it hers one sheet or
you're claiming more than one residence as your primary residence.
An email to the actual mortgage company, and she even said that it was going to be a rental home. So there is no fraud to be had. They're just desperate. But the irony of the situation is that Donald Trump on his staff has people who committed mortgage fraud, the same mortgage fraud that he's going after Letitia James for, the same mortgage fraud that he's going to try and go after Adam Schiff for next. It's just a made up charge that Trump is trying to do because, again, it's a political persecution.
Now, wait a minute. I heard Donald Trump say nobody knows more about mortgage fraud than I do.
We know why.
So the thing is, for you to claim that she didn't commit mortgage fraud, Jacoby, he said, I know more about mortgage fraud than anybody.
Everybody, I've committed loan fraud. If I'm on the phone with applying for a credit card, at some point they say, how much money did you earn last year? And I don't remember. So I just punch in some freaking number. Right. And if it doesn't agree with, my tax forms, and it doesn't because I punch in a round number, so I've committed loan fraud right there.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It seems to me to be ticky-tack, but it also tells me, usually I pay cash for all my properties, but now I was thinking about getting a loan. I'm going, wait, I might look at this carefully.
To Toby's point, isn't this what Trump said he was going to do all along? Because Trump said he was going to go after all of his enemies and all in that space.
Well, so
he got his enemy list, and I think there were other presidents like Nixon and others that had an enemy list, but he definitely has an enemy list.
But Nixon was quiet on his enemy list. Trump just says, here they are. These are the ones that are going after. Okay, third thing I want to wait to Toby out is the Democrats shut down the government. Isn't it quite clear to you when the Republicans all vote to open it, the Democrats voted against it, that this is a Democratic problem? They're the ones that are shutting it down.
No, it's not.
Am I setting you up, Jacoby? I don't have to say much because we all know it's the Democrats who voted to shut them down.
No.
So the Republicans have voted all to open it up.
The Republicans will bow down to do whatever Trump wants. So that's, the Republicans are shutting down the government. Trump was gleeful that he got the government shut down because, now he can tout that he has more power or act as if he has more power. The idea that they perpetuated that got shot down real quick, which I thought was hilarious. If you notice, they changed the Republican Party has changed their tune because it started out, this was the Democrat shutdown because they want insurance they want illegal aliens to have insurance. That got shot down because it got fact checked quick. And then that now has turned to something other. Oh, well, it's because Chuck Schumer is looking out for he's going to get primaried by AOC, as if Chuck Schumer is the only one who voted against it. So it's just the Republican Party is searching for their footing on this because right now polls are showing, nobody likes a shutdown. Polls are showing that the Republican Party actually is carrying the brunt of the blame for this. Yes, Democrats are getting the blame as well, but the Republican Party has more of the blame because people see because right now there is the key sticking point that the Democrats have been doing well with this time, the only time that they've ever done well in terms of messaging, because people can understand it. And it's very straightforward. It is about insurance costs. The Republican Party is yelling, oh, well, the Obamacare is too expensive and unaffordable. And that's why, we need to get rid of it and stuff like that. When the Republican Party cannot explain why, if you pull the subsidies, insurance goes up. It's simple. It's simple mathematics that people are understanding, which is why the Republican Party is getting the brunt of that. And this is why the Democrat Party is actually trying to fight for healthcare subsidies, because right now, if they do not get this passed by November 1, then everything goes up, because right now people are signing up for insurance.
That's your November 1. We were wondering why Vegas has odds that it's going to end before November 1st.
It has
because that's when everybody gets their insurance bills going up.
Yep, because
I remember there was something going on November 1st. Okay, but here's for Toby. I mean, I've listened to all the liberal rhetoric that you just said, because I listen to both sides, and at the end of the day, those are just excuses. The fact is, when it comes to the voting, we don't care the reason you didn't vote for it or voted for it. We're just looking at the pure votes. The pure votes are Republicans all voted for the CR. The Democrats voted against it. Why they did it is irrelevant. Did they do it is very relevant. So they're the ones that are going to die on this tree and die on this hill. So you can talk all you want. It doesn't matter. It's what you voted for.
So that, honestly, what you just stated right there, Nick, I agree with. I agree that the Democrat Party is trying to die on this hill. Why? Because of the fact that people get healthcare costs.
Well, let it go up. Let them eat cake. Then they have an issue to go to the people with.
But what you're stating right there is the Republican mantra, and that's what people are seeing.
Yeah, but Jacoby, they need to get their health care increased. They need to have triple their premiums. They need to be punished, so then the Democrats have something to go to bat with. But if you just let them pass, then the thing is, or you try to die on this hill, I wouldn't even die on the hill. I would just go somewhere else. Hey, speaking of the hill, we have Steve Rao, who goes to the hill all the time to see what's going on.
I haven't been there. I'm sorry, my background is messed up today. I need to get my green screen fixed. But I haven't been there in a while. I'm supposed to go up on sometime next month, but looks like the Diwali reception is on election day, and I wasn't feeling well. I woke up at 5 a.m. with the worst stomach cramps, and I went back to bed and woke up 4 hours later and they're completely gone. So I don't know what that was about, but it might be dehydration. But I'm okay now. So, but it's good to see everybody. And I guess the big deal on really Israel and the hostages being released. Netanyahu really praising Trump. No side of a government shutdown being ending. And a nation more divided than I think any of us have seen in our lifetime. Don't know what to think about it, but it's crazy times out there. And want to wish all Native Americans a happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Today I just did my post, and I'll be going on the air here in a few minutes on the radio. And then Mark, I'll come in on Economics Monday for a few minutes before I head out. Starting my day late today because I wasn't feeling well this morning. So, but
anybody have any thoughts, Steve, or any? Does Netanyahu keep his job now that we got a ceasefire and the hostages are freed?
I don't think he'll. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he'll ever voluntarily quit. The question is, whether he'll be staying. I don't know. And I think also it's interesting to see. The one thing I'll end with. I know we've got to go. I think it's interesting to see how the approach to Israel is now becoming a political issue. So you're seeing the Democratic Party, particularly to the left of center, focusing much more on pro-Gaza, pro-Palestine, and anti-Israel. Basically, Netanyahu is saying that October 7th was he did everything that he should have done. And there's a lot of innocent people, thousands of innocent people have died. And the people have died on both sides. And so I think it's just interesting to see that. And I think that's going to be very interesting with how the Jewish community plays out now moving forward in future elections, both U.S. Senate, congressional, and presidential. I'm seeing a shift more to the Jewish community moving towards Trump, or maybe not so much towards Trump, but frustrated with the Democratic Party. And so now it's almost become a litmus test now. I don't know whether you can be a Democrat and be pro-Israel.
I think.
All right. So historically, until recent history, 3/4 of America's Jews vote Democratic.
Right.
So
right.
I don't
but is that going to change?
I think that is what this campaign to do that is trying to do, because I don't think that I don't think people are going to shift as far as you're thinking they are. For example, people thought that, Trump was going to get the black vote. 20% isn't the black vote. So I don't think that the huge shift that you're thinking is going to happen. I do think there are going to be a lot of individuals.
Even African Americans voted for Trump. He did much better with African Americans and Hispanics at 45%.
He did. Hold on. Steve, the black vote he got was 20% at a maximum. So saying that is a great thing when he only got 20% is not really a great thing. No, what we're doing was we're flipping the narrative.
Much less than 20%. And Hispanics is up to 45%.
Yep. And what is that Hispanic vote now? He's dropping in the polls amongst Hispanics. So therefore, they're feeling burned. So again, what you're stating, that's why I don't think the Jewish vote is going to switch as much. I think if we keep saying that it is and keep trying to create this narrative that it is, I think it will.
It doesn't matter that much because there are only 7.5 million Jews in the U.S., about less than 3%. So even if there's a big shift, you're only talking about a few 100,000 votes. Mm-hmm. Now, the Muslim vote, even though they're only 1% of the vote, mattered because the Muslim vote is in swing states. The Jewish vote is in like New York, which will never go red.
So the thing with the Muslim vote also affects the African American vote because there is a lot of tie and synergy there in those two communities.
I gotta go.
So that within itself, the Muslim vote, I don't think is going. I disagree with the fact that the notion that if you're a Democrat, you can't be pro-Israel. That is a narrative being created, but I disagree with that because I think I'm
a Jew, I'm a Democrat, and I'm pro-Israel. I'm just not pro the current government,
that's I think where we have to. That's where the tough thing is that the nuance of the understanding that you can be pro-Israel and still dislike Netanyahu. The people of Israel don't like Netanyahu. So it's okay to dislike somebody if they're when they're the head of state with still loving the country that is there.
Hey, I know we're winding down and everything, but Rick, isn't part of the problem this whole notion of nationalistic Judaism? Because that's basically what Zionism is. And there are a lot of people that are anti-Zionist.
So, I would have to look at in Sunday school, when I was a little kid 50 frickin' years ago, we were, taught to, equate Zionism with Israel, no big deal. But now I'd have to really look at what Zionism means, because does it mean like chasing and killing all the Palestinians out of the West Bank? Because that's bullshit. I don't think that Zionism has to mean that, but I don't know. I don't frickin' know. I just don't like the current right-wing government in Israel.
And that's what I was always taught with it. Like I said, and my dad's lady friend is a Jewish American, everything from New York City, and I always got that impression that Zionism was more tied to like that nationalistic, populist kind of view that is out there in a number of countries, including like the one Ukraine and everything like that. So I was always thought it was more of a nationalistic kind of Zionistic ties. So they were parallel.
The past 2 years have seen the greatest slaughter of Jews since World War II and the greatest slaughter of Palestinians in history. So like everything's different, because when I was a kid in the 70s, you know, Israel, Arab countries ganged up to fight Israel. Israel fought back, and you know, it wasn't a question of genocide, at least as far as we knew here in America.
What's interesting, I was actually watching some commentators. Actually, it was a Fareed Zakaria show, and they were talking about the whole situation, and which is something that I agree with, is that right now, in terms of a lasting peace, which is what everybody still is searching for, we're actually at that point where that answer is more and more a two-state solution. But that will never happen unless Netanyahu is gone and Trump pushes for it because of his influence over Netanyahu. And right now he's riding a wave. So I do find it interesting that is kind of a view that might be grabbing hold, is that yes, a two-state solution might be the only solution.
You got to find somebody to be in charge of the second state, and nobody wants that job.
Yeah, but that's another thing. You have that's a whole nother negotiation and a whole nother diplomatic talk and everything else that has to take place. And I don't know if Trump has the capacity to do that or the willingness to do that.
If Netanyahu leaves, Trump loses a lot of his palsy-walsy leverage.
And when you had asked about if Netanyahu's going to stay after what's going on, I think now, well, with this happening, I think Trump is going to try and fight for Netanyahu to stay.
Okay. All right, we're over.
We're over time, and we got to get to economics and we're going to end this.
I have to go poop. So.
but important things that people must do. So, like I said, see you on economics after you take care of whatever you got to do with your body.
All right.